Welcome to a Friday read / a vacation TBR video. I'm going on my yearly trip up to New Hampshire, and it is a trip where I get no cell service, no Wi-Fi. So I have pre-filmed and prepared a whole bunch of videos for you guys. Hopefully you'll like it. I will attempt to be on top of my comments, but again, I never know what the Wi-Fi situation is, and I'm going to be outside doing outside things like reading by the lake and hiking and canoeing and playing board games with my mom. It's going to be fantastic. I am so excited to just read and relax, kind of get some separation from the internet. It's like my yearly detox. But that's to say that this is my last Friday reads for at least a few weeks because I'm not recording next week. I get a week off from recording. I mean, not that I dislike it. I love filming videos. So, per usual though, we'll talk about what I've finished, what I'm reading, and what I hope to read on vacation. So I have finished a few things since, I think, 3 things since I've last talked to you guys, and I'm in the middle of 3 things, and I have a bunch of stuff I want to take with me on vacation, so let's get into it. So I finished The Boy with Fire, which I love. I think when I first did my Friday reads last week, I was only 17% of the way in, and by Friday, I was 60 or 70% of the way in and obsessed in trying to figure out how to get my hands on a copy of the book when it comes out, because this comes out at the end of August. And it's so good. One of my favorite fantasies of the year, had similar vibes for me, not vibes, but the feeling I had when I was obsessed about The Mask of Mirrors, it was very similar. It was I love all these characters and how they're interacting and all of the politics, and I don't know what's happening. There were a lot of dramatic moments, and it's one of those books where now I require the sequel, now, but the first book's not even out yet, but so excited to reread it. Like I mentioned in last week's video, it is such a cool sci-fantasy world. Such a good blend of technology and desert fantasy and prophecy, and it's just, I really liked it. A lot of the characters made decisions that made sense. I really loved their interactions. There were moments that made my heart do things. Such a good book. Also, reminder that the indie book panel that I'm doing it's this Saturday, tomorrow at noon, Eastern Standard Time or Eastern Daylight Time. It's at 12 my time in Boston, and that's happening tomorrow. The link will be down in the description. You should come by and you can hear from the author of The Boy with Fire and the other books I will be talking about in this video. I am very excited about it. I got to meet a bunch of them earlier this week for a little icebreaker session. They are fantastic people. You do not want to miss out. Such great conversations are ahead of us. So I finished that one. Really good. I also got to drive a lot for my best friend's bachelorette party, so I got to finish We Hunt the Flame. And it's so good. I don't know why. I really like this story, and it has a lot of tropes that aren't normally my thing. It's definitely very a group of people have to go on a quest to accomplish a thing, which a lot of times that's what I can say is why I don't like a story. But just how this group forms, and we have 2 main characters. We have Nasir and Zafira, and they have such good relationship tension because they both have their issues, and Zafira is not actually that bad at communication, but Nasir has so many issues, and I think Rachel from Reads with Rachel says it best. It's just really fun watching Nasir not know what to do with his emotions. And there's just also still a lot of stakes. This is a series that has stakes, and they have stakes early. So there are consequences for actions. And this book, when I first read it, the sequel wasn't out, leaves off at a cliffhanger. So I haven't finished it yet, but I have jumped into primarily audio, although I do have both the physical and the Kindle of We Free the Stars. But this is super shiny, so I'll just put an image. So I still have one more book I finished, but we'll talk about We Free the Stars now, because it's kind of a natural segue. So I picked up the audio of this. I think I'm 10% of the way in, and I have no idea what's going to happen. I'm a little concerned because of situations and how they were left off and what's happening to one of our characters because of situations. And there's been some reunions, and I just get such good vibes from this young adult duology. Like, it's very comfy for me. I'm very comfortable. I've been into a lot of desert fantasy this month, and that has not changed here. This is very good desert fantasy. And also, I'm now like getting more questions about this world and how it works. Like, it's a good blend of just adventure, good times with cozy young adult tropes I like. And again, the Nasir Zafira like tension is like, it's my type of thing. It's A plus for me. Just like, it's like such nice to have this type of drama, because we do have like big world drama, like there's big world problems going on, but I really like that, and just the world. It's such a fun time. I'm really glad I did pause and reread the first book before picking up the second, because when I tried to read We Free the Stars in March, I was just not feeling it, and that was not the book's fault. The other book I just finished today was the nonfiction I was reading. I'm Disfigured, and it has more words. Long nonfiction titles just like leave my brain, but it's about fairy tales and the representation of disability. And it's been a really interesting read. I think it didn't overstay its welcome for me. There were a few chapters where I was like, this could have been like a little more concise. Like, it felt like it meandered at this point, but I also didn't mind it because I was just like learning about the origins of certain fairy tales, which is also very interesting to me. And I do think this is like a very accessible intro to this topic. I say that as someone who is still looking for introductory materials for disability representation in the world and in fiction, and this was good for me for a lot of the fantasy and sci-fi that I consume. It talks about fairy tales, superhero narratives. I think it goes into actually a Game of Thrones at the end, which was really interesting, and like I didn't make some connections that the book brought out that kind of makes me not hate the end of that show as much as I did initially. It's still complicated, but there was definitely things that it brought to light. Some things it solidified for me, but there were just other things where it's like, I'm really glad I have this terminology now, that I have this lens to look at things, because when you are able-bodied, you don't experience the world the same way as someone who's disabled, and that means like you don't have a lens. So hearing about things that I don't notice has been useful. So it accomplished its goal for me. I've been enjoying the buddy read. I still have one more check-in session with Shannon from That So-Po, who is fantastic to buddy read things with. She always has so many thoughts. Even when she is like, I don't have that many thoughts, she has so many cool thoughts to just bounce ideas off of. This is like our second buddy read, and I cannot wait for many more in the future. So that was really good. So I finished We Hunt the Flames, that nonfiction, The Boy with Fire, and I'm currently working on Once Stolen. This is so cool. So if you're the type of person who's like, I need something unique in fantasy, I've seen it all, you need this book, okay? So your main character is a mer serpent who is autistic. So I've never read the perspective of a mer serpent type creature before. There's another name for it as well, but I'm blanking on it, and it's also referred to that way. His name's Cacao, and he is a fantastic character to see the world through. I mean, it's a little jarring because it's a serpent existing in the world, so you're like trying to figure out like, wait, he has this tail, and this tail can do things, like what's the situation with the arms? And I was lucky enough, talking to the author, I was sent a picture, and like Cacao looks super cool. I'm going to ask permission. If they say I can share it, I'll show you Cacao here, but if not, sorry, it's not mine. But they're so cool. And then I described it like this to Danny, and they laughed a lot, where like it reminds me a little bit, without as much humor, of like the situation in The Emperor's New Groove, where you have these two people that have to travel together and they don't like each other, and one's like an unlikable protagonist and the other is like this wholesome hero individual. It's that dynamic, which I'm loving. And I don't know, it's a great short fantasy sci-fi-ish thing in a really interesting like river swamp system part of the world. There are these stones that have these magical mechanical properties, and they're like the center of the story for multiple reasons, but for Cacao it's because it helps them with their sensory like overload with their body. It's very unique. It is very unique. I really love Cacao. I'm like halfway through it, so I'm excited to dive back into that later tonight once I'm free and finish that out. I've also been reading, I believe, I always blank on the name if it's like Crowned Unsold or Unsold Crowned, but I'm 40% into this one for the Indie Book Fest. And this one, I would say that if you pick it up, know that it kind of reads like the younger end of young adult, or like upper end of middle grade, like that area of the age range. This is also very much, like I was saying with We Hunt the Flame, like an adventure story. You have our main character who is a fire elemental and kind of gets wrapped up in some of the politics that are happening in this other world. And all of a sudden, they are required to save the day, and they go on this journey with some companions to collect the things to prevent darkness kind of falling over this land. So it's not really my type of story. I don't have any issues with that, but like I was saying with We Hunt the Flame earlier, it's like normally I'm not big on like we have to go on a quest and find the things to solve the problem. It's not normally my intrigue, and that seems to be the case here, although I have no real issues with it other than like I'm not the target age for it, and it's not my standard plot arc, but it's still enjoyable, and I am excited to finish this one up and talk to the author on Saturday. So those are the things I'm reading. Am I reading other things? Oh, I did read 2 more stories in Exhalation. I still love The Truth of Fact and The Truth of Feeling, and this time, though, there's a story in here. What was it called? It was called The Great Silence, that hit different this week. So with, the reminder of climate change and everything that's happening with COVID, this story is actually about how humans are always looking out to find intellectual life, to connect and communicate with other life. But on Earth, we are not attempting to find communication with species here, or we have basically written off that we can't communicate with anything here, that they're on a different intellectual plane and it's, not passable. And in this story, it's specifically referring to Puerto Rican parrots and how they also communicate, and that's an important part of their species, communicate like auditorially. And I think this was made as like a project with another group, and this was, I think, they're endangered species, they're not extinct yet, but it's this idea that like, here's this species that may or may not, have the same intellect level, who can communicate and learn vocal language like we can, that we're not engaging with, that we are not even noticing their extinction is occurring on here, and we're just looking out. And it just hit different. It's honestly, the first time I read it, I didn't even like think about this story, and this time I was just like very focused on it for some reason. So those are short stories I'm reading, and I think those are all the things. Well, now we can get into my little vacation TBR. A Natural History of Dragons is coming with me. I've read 1 chapter, so I guess technically I've started it, but I don't have many opinions other than I know it's like memoir style, and I like the narrative voice of the person whose memoir it is. I also got I think this is meant to be like Victorian inspired, but when you first start this memoir, you're with a young version of, I guess, Lady Trent, and it gave me like Anne of Green Gable vibes. That's for you, Stephanie, because she's such an inquisitive young person in a world where she's not allowed to be as inquisitive if she were like a man, which makes sense based off this is like an alternative history book, and her love of nature and like natural history in general is just coming off the page, and I'm just very excited to be with this character more. So this is for sure coming with me. And I have some other options. So I'm currently in the middle of Illusionary. I haven't picked that up since the end of July because of the indie reads. So I'd like to get back into that, but I might need a palate cleanser. I've been reading a lot of fantasy. I've been reading a lot of young adult fantasy. So I have a sci-fi on my TBR, First Light, that I might get to. Or I might pick up Symbiosis, unsure. And then on my Kindle, I do have Ship of Destiny, which I know is still a fantasy, but it's been a minute since I've read an epic fantasy, a big 800-page tome, and I'm feeling it. So I don't know if that'll be the one I pick up or not, but I'm loving all of the things I cannot wait to read. By the lake. It's just going to be so lovely. No responsibilities. I don't even have to prepare food. It's fantastic. So that's it for this one. Just a reminder that I'm sorry if I'm behind on my comments for the next week or so. I'm not around. I'll probably be a little bit more in the Discord, so if you ever really want to get a hold of me, I check on that more frequently. I do read every comment as they come in, but I don't like responding to them on my phone, so I read them on my phone and I have to wait till I'm on my computer. Little behind the scenes for how I interact with the YouTube studio. I just like being able to type. Especially when people write those long, thoughtful comments, it's I cannot respond to this on my phone. My thumbs are not fast enough. They cannot. So, reminder, tomorrow also, I will be in the nonfiction book club chat at Jess Owens' channel. So you have 2 live streams with me tomorrow if you are interested. One with the indie book panel at noon, and at 2 is the nonfiction book panel. Obviously, you don't have to come to either of those, but those are the things that are happening on Saturday, and it's the last time you will see me in real time before I come back from my vacations. So that's it for this one. If you want to leave an emoji, I don't know, leave a desert emoji. I've been reading like so much desert fantasy, like so much. And like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.